Access modifiers can be specified while creating the property or method or any type of member inside the class. Access modifier specifies the access permission of a property or method of a class, indicating whether it can be accessible in the child classes or other classes. You have three access modifiers in TypeScript, that is public, private, and protected. The default is public. That means if you don't specify the access modifier while creating the property or method, it is by default considered as public. The public members of the current class can be accessible everywhere in the current class itself, in the child class of current class, and also in the other classes. The private members of the current class can be accessible only within the current class itself, but not in child classes or other classes. The protected members of current class can be accessible in the current class and also in the child classes only. They cannot be accessible in other classes. I have created a file called accessmodifiers.ts in C:\TypeScript folder and copied the same code from the previous lecture. So it has a parent class called person with a child class called employee, and the child class can access all the members of the parent. By default, all the properties and methods of a class are public members. That means they are accessible inside the same class and also in the child class and also in other classes or outside the class while printing the output. Now I am going to make the person name as a private member of the class, which means that it can be accessible only inside the same class, but not in child classes or other classes or outside the class. So that when you try to access the person name property outside the current class, it shows a compile time error that indicates the property person name is private and only accessible within the class called person. Even it shows the same error message while accessing the private member in the child class. So overall, the private member of a class cannot be accessible outside the current class, that is in the child classes or outside the class. Now I make the person name as protected member of the person class, so it can be accessible inside the same class and also accessible in the child class by writing this.personName. So the this keyword of a class can access all the members of the same class and also its parent. So in this way we are accessing the person name in the child class. But still the person name property is not accessible outside the current class. So we are unable to print the person name in this case. Compile the program by using tsc command and run the program by using accessmodifiers.js. Now you can see all the person names are printed through the constructor of the child class, and remaining details of employee are printed from outside the class. So the private member of a class can be accessible only within the same class. The protected member can be accessible in the same class and also in the child class, but not in other classes or outside the class. But public member of a class is accessible in all these cases. that is everywhere. The default access modifier in the TypeScript is public. This is all about access modifiers in TypeScript.